Free riding in research publications is an issue of considerable concern in the research and academic circles. What is free riding in research publications and what are its general causes and consequences? These are questions that we will briefly respond to in this presentation. So, first of all, what is free riding? Generally, free riding in research publication actually means taking credit as authors or co-authors in research publications, that is in research papers or in research based books or in other research reports with without any substantial contribution or without any contribution at all. This contribution that is generally expected for becoming an author or a co-author in a research publication is generally in academic or intellectual form. The contribution could take place in terms of the conceptualization of a research paper or a research publication or a research project, in terms of the design of the research project, or in terms of the implementation of the research project, or in the analysis of the data, or in terms of report writing. So contribution could be in all of these aspects of the research or in one or more aspects of the research. So a free rider is someone who does not have any contribution at all, or who does not have substantial contribution in any of the aspects of a research project or a research publication. Now, what are generally the causes of free riding in research publications? There are certain important causes that lead to the phenomena of free riding in research publications. So the first one is lack of ethical considerations. In many cases, the free riders do not take care of ethical considerations in research, such as the integrity or transparency that should be essential aspects of the research process, the research publication process. These are ignored. Then, in many cases, authors become free riders mainly because of lack of intellectual or general lethargy. So they do not take the pains actually to involve in the process of research, to give their time and effort. And so this intellectual lethargy is something that ultimately leads to the phenomena of free riding. Then lack of academic or intellectual knowledge and skills is another important aspect that contributes in the phenomena of free riding. So academics or researchers who lack sufficient academic or intellectual knowledge in the fields in which they need to produce research publications often become free riders. Then the other important factor that leads to the phenomena of free riding is unhealthy publication race or competition. And so we know that there is a lot of competition in academia, and so that has resulted in a race for more and more publications. And so instead of focusing on the quality of the research publication, the focus is on the number, or so we can say the number games. One other factor that contributes in this is the lack of quality control checks on the part of, for example, the publications or the research institutions or universities, where because of lack of quality control checks, it happens that the focus is on the number of publications coming up from a particular academic or researcher or student, research student. So instead of focusing on the quality of what they are producing, when the focus is on the number of the publication, that ultimately leads to the phenomena of free riding, where the free rider does not consider whether the publication is quality or not, but they are actually interested in just including their name on one more publication. Then the power dynamics, in many cases, the junior researchers or student researchers are vulnerable in terms of being exploited by senior researchers, or in some cases, professors who do not have the time or the inclination to have genuine um, research involvement. And so, as a result, because of the vulnerable position of the junior researchers, junior academicians, or student researchers, in some cases they might feel compelled to include senior academics or the names of senior academics without um, getting proper contribution, intellectual contribution from them in their research publications. And lastly, financial or monetary considerations. So in many cases, publications have certain fee. In many cases, the publication fees are quite high, and as a result, some authors might feel compelled to include others in order to get some contribution in terms of the fee payment of certain publications. So financial or monetary constraints could also lead to the phenomena of free riding. Now, what are the consequences of this? Um, the first important consequence of the free riding phenomena is that there is compromise on ethical considerations. So we know that ethical considerations are at the very root of quality research conduct and research publication. So when there is compromise on the ethical considerations, one of which is the integrity of the research authors, the integrity of the whole research process, um, that is something that is a very damaging thing for the research publication and for the quality and integrity of the research process. This ultimately leads to impact on quality as well, because generally the free riders perhaps are not contributing sufficiently, and so that can lead to the overburdening of the other authors, especially the first author, and as a result there could be an impact on the quality or compromise on the quality of the research publications. Then the other important consequence is that the phenomena of unfair attribution, which is actually giving advantage to someone without adequate and sufficient contribution. So academic and professional advantages without any adequate and sufficient contribution on the part of researchers ultimately lead to the disadvantage of others, genuine researchers who are competing with them in the job market. And so that is something, the unfair attribution of advantages is something that comes one of the consequences of the free riding. A reward for malpractices. So getting attribution without contributing intellectually or in other ways is something that should be considered as a malpractice. And so inclusion of the names of certain academics without their contribution is basically reward for malpractices. Then discouragement for genuine researchers and academics. Genuine researchers who want to, to conduct genuine studies and who want to use their intellectual and professional and academic abilities and skills in the process of research. When they see that there are others who are producing research publications without the effort that is needed, this is something that becomes is a discouragement for them to actually work on genuine research projects and to produce genuine research. And then the discouragement of positive collaboration. So as we know that collaboration is often an important aspect of the conduct of research and the research publication process. When there is positive and when there is genuine collaboration, the result is the production of genuine scholarship. But when there is the phenomenon of free riding there, this is something that discourages positive collaboration among genuine academics and researchers. And so this is also one of the negative aspects of the phenomena of free riding. So overall, to summarize, free riding in research publications in the academia or in the professional fields is something that should be discouraged, because this is something that leads to a compromise on ethical considerations in research. It impacts the quality of research. It leads to injustice in academic and professional terms. It is a kind of reward for malpractices, and ultimately the result is the discouragement of genuine research conduct and research publications, and also a discouragement of positive and productive collaboration in research and in research publications, and generally overall it has a very negative impact on the quality and outcomes of the process of research.